What's next for the Saints season, you might ask, and what's next for all of these teams who may or may not have lost their head coach just recently? Find out on this latest episode on the Who Dat Weekly. Welcome to the Who Dat Weekly. It features your Dirty Dell's finest, Jay Spies. I'm here with my first ever co-host, Paulo. He is a good friend of mine. He's also from the Dirty Dell himself. I got a pair of Dirty Dell brothers here. And if you haven't heard of him, you should go follow, hit, and subscribe his channel, The Mysterious Biscuit. He posts some pretty great stuff. He's a movie critic and everything. And what else is there to say? You take it away, Paulo.
All right, well, today we're back, and we are going to be talking about all the NFL coaches that have been fired this season and whether or not we think that they deserve to be fired or to be retained. So I don't know where you want to start.
Well, let's start with the Saints and how things have ended with their season. So the Saints finished their record with a 6-11 record. Sadly, got swept by those ding-dong Atlanta bastards, as I call them. But I mean, it is what it is at this point. Like, we lost to them, they beat us fair and square. But it's how the season for the Saints wrapped up. It gives a lot of us Saints fans a lot of hope. Tyler Shough seems to be the answer at quarterback. We seem to have our head coach who finally started figuring out how to be a head coach. And kicker-wise, I think there's a lot of hope in the kicker, despite him missing a few field goals down the late end of the stretch of the season. But I'm not worried about that whatsoever. But on top of that, our defense seemed to have made a turnaround late in the season. And had we had a few extra gains, the NFC South probably would have been ours for certain. But that's a tale for another time. But the important thing is what's next for the New Orleans Saints. Well, we got the draft coming up. Not for another couple months. Season has officially been wrapped up. So, Paulo, what do you think the Saints should address in this offseason coming up?
I still think we need a little bit of everything. It seems as though we've gotten our quarterback and our head coach. But other than that, those are the only things I feel like are a lock. As Kamara continues to get older, we're going to have to look towards running back. It's not my biggest concern this upcoming draft. I think we definitely need a receiver. We definitely need a first-round receiver because we got rid of Shaheed. Olave has had his injuries, and we don't have the receiving core. We don't have the weapons to truly take it to the next level. So I think we really need to put some of our eggs into the basket of the offense just to say that we did all we could for our second-year quarterback. And it's going to be his first full year starting. So if we do that, we can finally see like what he's really made of and what the future looks like. Because we got a little sample, but I'd like to see a full year with some more weapons.
That's a pretty valid point there because I can definitely say I agree with that because Tyler Shough shows he can work with what he's got. But can you imagine if we took it to a whole new level? Now, I haven't done my research just yet about any potential receivers in the draft or running backs other than Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, who is touted to be the best running back available in the draft. Now, will we actually get him? I don't know for certain. We have the number 8 pick in the draft, and he happens to fall on our laps, then I can't say no to that. So, but for me, we definitely need to address the offensive line for certain because that offensive line, oh my God, it gave me headaches all season long. Like poor Shough, while he did really well in the end stretch, and I'm going to throw some credit to Spencer Rattler as well. He did some good things too, but Good Lord Almighty! If this season wasn't an eye opener to how bad the offensive line was this year, I don't know what to tell y'all. But
Yeah.
we definitely need to address the offensive line this offseason.
And what sucks is it feels like we do, at least in part, address it every year, and then every year it's just not any better. So at this point, like, what do? We just have to keep trying the draft, unless we go out for somebody in free agency. But I just don't know if we have. I don't know if we have the capital to go get anyone in free agency. The draft might be our best bet. It just feels like what, two-thirds, three-quarters of our offensive linemen that we draft are just not it.
Yeah. Like Trevor Penning, who was a former first round draft pick in the 2021 draft, he was a complete bust. Now he's with the Chargers, and I had no idea how he did with the Chargers. I lost track of him once we traded him away. But Cesar Ruiz, he's another guy on the O line that I have noticed he has been a huge issue in the interior part of the O line. I think our best players on the O line have been the rookie Kelvin Banks Jr., who was this past year's draft pick, first round draft pick, and then Fuegas. I forget. I do not know how to pronounce that guy's first name, but I know it's Fuega. He's been solid on the other end of the O line, but we definitely need to address the interior part. Now, in my opinion, I don't think we should draft a first round draft pick at interior O line. I think we could get something maybe like in the second or third round at best, because we need to address the receiver room as well. Because after this past game against the Atlanta Falcons, having literally nobody, we got players that probably came from Walmart, Burger King, you name it. Like these guys, like they did their best, but their backups, they're third or fourth strings for a reason. They just were not good enough. I can't tell you how many times I was so frustrated with them dropping the ball so many times during that game. Like, my God. Chris Olave,
Right.
we miss you.
I think we have a better shot of a first round receiver panning out as well. We've tried the first round offensive lineman. We've seen how that goes. When a lineman isn't good, he's not good. And I just feel like we're playing a much more dangerous game if we go lineman, especially considering we also need the receiver. You know, most first round receivers are at least adequate. Whereas if an offensive lineman ends up being a bust in the first round, then we shot ourselves in the foot.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Like, I think the Saints entering this offseason and entering the 2026 draft, which is coming up, I believe, in April or early May. I need to look at the dates, but it's coming up soon, and they need a change in draft strategy. I don't think it's wise for us to go for another lineman at first round pick. Screw that. We need to get either a receiver or running back. I don't mind either one. Do I have a preference? I would prefer receiver because, I mean, have you know, already know, you already touched on how bad the receiver room looks like. But oh boy, yeah, something's got to change. And if I were to like address the defensive side of the ball, while the defense has been really solid in the end stretch, I don't know what Cam Jordan or Demario Davis's status is going to be like. I presume they're going to retire eventually. I don't know if it'll be this season or the next season, but let's say they retire this season, we would definitely have to plug their holes for certain, because those are two soon-to-be Hall of Famers leaving us, and that's going to be a killer for us.
Yeah, I agree. And I know we were talking about the possibility of some of our defensive players retiring last year, and then they ended up playing this year. So it's really something we need to look at sooner rather than later because, I mean, whether it's in the off season, whether it's after this next year, we need guys who are ready to step up anyway. So we might as well start looking at that now. And our defense needs to get younger anyway. Like, as much
Yeah,
as I love some of our veterans, when they retire, as long as we have a plan in place, we have players to take their spots, they can retire, you know? Like, I'll
absolutely.
miss them, but, you know, we need to move this team forward. And it feels like we're in, like, a stasis time where we got to stay loyal to the veterans who have, you know, given their careers to us. But at the same time, we can't We can't let it be at the expense of us like winning and improving. It's just going to make our rebuild take longer the longer that, the
Yeah.
older guys stick with us.
I agree. And look, I love Cam Jordan. I love Demario Davis. They have been some of the greatest Saints players on the defensive side of the ball I've ever witnessed as a Saints fan. Unfortunately, their time is up. In this past draft, I really like Danny Stutzman. I've been noticing him really attack the ball a lot in the end stretch of this year. Jonas Sanker, these are some of the rookies, by the way. Jonas Sanker, Danny Stutzman. There's this one cornerback that's named I cannot remember for the life of me, but those three were impact star makers. I noticed right off the bat. Those guys could definitely fill in the gaps for their positions, of course. But when Demario Davis and Cam Jordan call it quits, then we have to fill those holes immediately. So, but that's something we'll have to worry about later down the road because right now we have the Saints. Primary thing I think entering this offseason is get under the cap, whatever you got to do. The good news is, ever since Derek Carr retired, the cap should be well below entering this offseason, so we are going to be in good hands coming up. But there's going to be a couple players that are unknown, like Cameron Jordan. I don't know if he's going to re-sign with us for one more year, or Demario Davis, same thing. So it's going to be a guessing game. And then you got Taysom Hill. We got to figure out what we're going to do with him now. Because Taysom Hill, he's another player on the offensive side of the ball that's probably going to retire eventually. Because he really wasn't much of a difference maker this year, honestly.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to say, but I think his best years might be behind him as well.
Yeah,
The type of gadget player that he is, doing all these different things, especially physical things. Like as he gets older, all these things we expect him to do, he's going to be able to do less. So,
yeah,
he might have fewer years than some people might expect, honestly.
yeah. Sad but true. And I'm a big Taysom Hill fan of his. Like I love Taysom Hill, but I think it's time to hang up the shoes. Just call it a career. You will be one of the greatest Saints besides Drew Brees to ever put on a Saints uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So, but enough about the Saints. So that's pretty much our take on the Saints 2025 season. So let's talk about news around the NFL. And there's been a crap ton crap ton of head coaches around the league that got kicked to the curb this past Monday. Oh boy, where do we even begin? Let's start with let's see. It was the Raiders coach. They fired Pete Carroll after one season, which is wow. He literally lasted only 1 year. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that one kind of surprised me whenever y'all mentioned it earlier today, because like I know that the Raiders were terrible this year, but to fire a Super Bowl winning coach after 1 year, when you bring him in on a multi-year contract to be the guy, at least for now, um, even as bad as they've been, I'm surprised by this.
Me too. Like usually the Raiders will give any of their coaches a few years at the best. Kind of like the Raiders are kind of like the Saints. They give their coaches a few years to see if they end up being really good for us. But this was not the case. So I'm just very curious to know what the Raiders' thought process was here in firing him so soon. Like, was he just simply not a good fit? Or was there something behind the scenes that we don't even know about?
The only thing I could possibly think of is if it was Pete Carroll who wanted to bring in Geno Smith, and they brought him in because of Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Because Geno Smith, as we know, ended up being terrible this year.
Oh yeah.
So if they attribute that, the whole Geno Smith aspect of it, to Pete Carroll, then I could see, like, oh, he doesn't. They just disagreed with his decision making, and they thought that maybe his decision making wouldn't improve them. Um, but that's the only thing I can see, because the
Yeah.
Raiders were bad last year. They're bad this year, but you're clearly in a rebuild. So I don't understand, especially bringing in someone of Pete Carroll's like status and then letting him go. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, not at all. And it just feels like a slap to the face for Pete Carroll, especially he retired just a year before he started coaching for the Raiders, and you just bring the poor guy out of retirement just to fire him 1 year later. Like, come on, man, that ain't right.
Yeah.
That's just disrespectful to the Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, I personally would have gave him one more year because you need to draft a quarterback still in Vegas. So if they would have got a decent quarterback in the draft and their rebuild was in their second year, I would have liked to have seen if there would have been improvement there. You'd think there would be. And I think he could have turned it around in another year or two, but I guess they're not being patient with him. I
Yeah.
don't see how their fortunes are going to be improved with another head coach next year.
Yeah, right now the Raiders' future. I mean, the Raiders' future has been bleak for a while, but this just makes it even worse. So it's like I don't know what their plans are for this offseason. I mean, clearly they need a quarterback. Geno Smith did not work out whatsoever with the Raiders, which was a huge shock for all of us because, as you discussed, he was really good with Seattle, and all of a sudden he's just dog crap this season. It's like, geez, was he just? I don't know. Like, the Raiders are just a mess. I mean, the only bright spot I can really think of is they got Max Crosby on defense, and then they got Gianti on as a running back who's been solid for the most part this past season, but wasn't enough for the Raiders to turn around, sadly. So
Yeah. At this point, I'm wondering who they even go after as the new head coach because if other head coaches are looking at what they did to Pete Carroll, bring him in for multiple years and then just ditch him after one, like who's gonna want that job?
yeah, that's a valid point because, oh boy, like at this point the Raiders are just self-sabotaging their reputation as a franchise, where they're showing that they're too impatient to wait for their coaches to either make the team better for the future or develop them faster than expected, kind of like the Houston Texans a few years back when they end up being the worst team in the NFL to one of the top dogs in the AFC. So I don't know what's
Yeah.
I don't know. The Raiders are a mess, and thank God I'm not a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
Whew. In the meantime, the next firing that happened, and this was kind of a two. What's the word I'm looking for? It was a double header kind of hot fire, if that makes any sense. The Falcons fired Raheem Morris and their general manager Terry Fontenot for missing the playoffs for what has been, I think, the almost 10th year in a row or something like that. It's been a long time since the Falcons were relevant. So,
Yeah.
and what's really shocking for me, and even though I knew Raheem Morris wasn't that good of a coach, I mean he was Tampa Bay's coach for a hot minute. He did absolutely nothing with the Buccaneers. He had a short stint with another team I can't remember, and he didn't even get the job after that. But to have only 2 years with the Falcons, and he ended the year on a 4-game winning streak and was basically a win short of winning the NFC South this year with how the NFC South ended this year, and he still loses his job. It's like, dang.
Yeah.
Talk about a joke of a franchise, and I mean that intentionally, Falcon fans.
This firing kind of has me split because, like you said, they were getting it together at the end of the season. They did sweep our Saints, as much as we hate to admit it. They
Yeah.
did do that, and we're a division rival. Like you said, he wasn't the best coach. The reason I can see for them firing him this year would be just that they've kind of not improved that much the last few years. They've
Yeah.
kind of gone from mediocre to slightly above, and then that's how they've been for the last several years, including this year. They haven't been great, but they haven't been terrible. But I guess you don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel unless you do something.
Yeah. And at this point with the Falcons now about to enter year 10 of possibly missing the playoffs, I was actually wrong. They had missed 9 years in a row, dating back from 2016 when they made their infamous Super Bowl run, which they blew that lovely 28-3 lead. But regardless, it's been a long time since the Falcons have been in the playoffs, and I'm sure their owner is just getting sick of the constant mediocrity behind the Falcons, and I can understand that from an owner perspective. But as a Saints fan, I'm absolutely enjoying their demise year in year out. So, but yeah. So like with the Falcons, it's like the Falcons on paper have a pretty solid team. They got one of the best running backs in the NFL, in Bijan Robinson. They have. I mean, the jury's still out for their quarterback, Michael Penix. He's shown some flashes, but he's shown that he's still got some room to grow. So maybe when he's fully healthy next season, we'll get a better perspective of him. But who knows? But the receiving core was not good whatsoever, in my opinion. But other than that, like the Falcons have some good things, but they just could not get it together, unfortunately. So, why am I saying unfortunately? I'd hate them. I'm saying fortunately.
Fortunately. Yeah. I think this firing it's not the most justified out of all of them, but it's justified, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. So, and then we got this next firing. The Browns head coach fired Kevin Stefanski after who I think has been their longest head coach as a Browns head coach in probably the last 20 years or so. The Browns always seem to be firing head coaches after like 2 or 3 seasons, and this guy lasted for 6 years. And I would say was probably their most successful head coach in recent memory. But I mean, you can't just have back-to-back losing seasons in a row. That's definitely cost you your job. And how he managed that team from the get-go, especially after they drafted Shedeur Sanders and that whole fiasco broke out. Whew. But I mean, what a mess.
I think that was the nail in his coffin right there.
Yeah.
Was how he handled that situation, because you draft Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur in the same year. You draft Gabriel to be the starter. He wasn't good. And then you got Shedeur, who's not great either, but he had more success when they finally put him in. I think it was just all the politics of it all, him not wanting to put Shedeur in, not wanting to make him the starter. I think that just played into it, because I think from the owner's perspective, he's probably thinking if you put him in earlier, then maybe we could have, done something more with the season. But at the same time, like you said, he lasted 6 seasons. He wasn't a bad head coach for the Browns. I like Stefanski. And it makes sense that did he already have the interview with the Giants, or was that like happening like
Not yet.
the coming date?
Not yet. No.
Okay, yeah, I would not be shocked at all if Stefanski is a head coach in the NFL next year for another team.
Oh, I agree, because Stefanski did relatively well with the Browns in the time he was with them. I mean, I think he got them to the playoffs a few times, and while they didn't win any playoff games under him, like the fact that you got the Cleveland Browns themselves to the playoffs, that's a accomplishment all in its own, honestly.
Did he not? Didn't they go to the AFC Championship with Baker against?
You're right. I totally forgot. Yeah, I totally forgot. The 2020 season
that was years ago, to be fair, but
yeah. But yeah, that I totally forgot about that. Thanks for pointing that out. I totally forgot. But yeah, like that just that itself, it's like he's shown that he's actually a pretty solid head coach, and I guarantee whoever is looking for a head coach, and I think he'd be a great fit for the Giants, because he's a good offensive schemer and everything. So with Jackson Dart with the Giants right now, that could be a really good fit, in my opinion. So, but. We'll find out as time goes by, because they don't hire coaches super fast unless you're the Las Vegas Raiders. So, but anyway, so the next firing, Cardinals. The Cardinals have fired their head coach Jonathan Gannon after 3 seasons. This one I kind of understand, because apparently the Cardinals lost 9 in a row, and you just can't do that, especially when initially you were in the mix of the crazy competitive NFC West division, and you lose 9 straight. Like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, this one I don't fully put the Cardinals' struggles on Jonathan Gannon. I think there's a lot wrong with the Cardinals organization.
Yeah.
I think Kyler Murray is a talented quarterback, but he's got health issues, and he's also not. He's not a quarterback that I believe in as far as like getting to the playoffs and winning anything. He's fun to watch. He's talented. He can scramble and all that, but I just don't see him in the upper echelon of quarterbacks. And I also don't think that the Cardinals have very good weapons. I think their run game, when healthy, um, what's his name? I have him in fantasy. What's his name? He went down in like week one.
Yeah, I know who exactly you're talking about, but I can't think of his name either.
Yeah, I mean, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
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 I mean, he was hurt this year. He was out this year. I think he's good, but he's not an elite level running back.
yeah.
And then who like Marvin Harrison Jr.
He,
has not turned into an elite level wide receiver. He's good, I guess.
yeah, he's okay, but
Um,
he's not among the top 5 best receivers, and we all know who those are very well.
yeah, I mean Trey McBride at tight end is probably your best position player on the offense.
Yes.
Um, so I don't think they have the personnel to be a winning team really. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, you got to put the blame on somebody. Jonathan Gannon isn't fully guilty, but he's not fully innocent either. He hasn't really elevated that team. Um, so I can kind of see it, but at the same time, I think they need to do more than just. I think they need to let Kyler go as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like I think it's just time for him to just move on because he's been there. Kyler's been there for a long time, and he has not been much of a difference for the Cardinals. And I'm sure Cardinal fans are like just sick of him at this point. So, and he's just been never healthy, like you mentioned. And one extra thing is, I think he lacks the attention span uh, of a flea. Like he has an attention span of a flea because I know he's a big time gamer. And look, both of us are gamers. We love the game all the time. We game with Jose and the gang and all that. But I mean, you're an NFL quarterback. Should you be bothering like studying the play calls and future games upcoming? You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like if that's gonna be your hobby, because there are other guys in the NFL that game as well. They stream and all that. Um, but it's never affected someone like Tyreek Hill on the field. Like he'll go out there and he'll beat Tyreek Hill on the field.
Yeah.
And there's not the fact that it's only talked about for Kyler Murray kind of tells you something. Like people notice when he plays poorly after a game releases or whatever. Like I don't know. Like as soon as that starts, you're in trouble.
Absolutely, I agree. So yeah, so add that to the list of teams that have fired their coach since then, and I think that's about it in terms of head coaches. But if we go now, shift gears to random coordinators. So to start off, the Cowboys
You
fired.
missed
Did I
you
miss
missed
somebody?
two of them. The
Oh, did
head
I?
coaches. Yeah, Brian Callahan fired
Oh,
by the Tennessee Titans. Two
oh, that's
seasons.
right. That's right. Totally forgot about it. Wasn't he like a mid-season fire or something like that?
Yeah, he was gone a
Oh,
while
okay.
ago.
Yeah,
He was gone
that's
in like October.
okay. That's why I forgot. Oh,
Yeah,
and then
that one.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that one is justified to me. That one
Yeah,
made perfect sense.
yeah. Like they were doing absolutely nothing under that guy. Like I don't even know why they hired him in the first place. Like they did not improve whatsoever. And once they kicked him to the curb, I argue the Titans did a little better, even though they didn't win a lot. You could tell they were a little more competitive than before. And I mean, after the Saints played the Titans, and I gave them a lot of credit in my last episode. The Titans played really hard, but the Saints were just a better team that day. But it's how the Titans fought that day. I was like, okay, there's definitely hope for the Titans, but they just need a lot of help.
Yeah,
So,
they need a veteran head coach. They don't need to hire another coordinator. They need someone experienced, because you're dealing with the first overall pick going into his second year. Like you have to develop that guy at all costs. Like if you're the Titans and you fail Cam Ward, then your rebuild hasn't even begun.
oh yeah,
Essentially.
it's stuck in the gutter for sure, certain. Yeah. And then The other firing, which was also a mid-season firing, was the Giants firing their head coach. Is that the second one you were referring to?
Yeah, that was the second one.
That's what I
Brian
thought.
Daboll.
Yeah, he got fired, and that one I understand because, I mean, let's face it, like he was doing nothing for the Giants outside that one year he randomly made the playoffs. And at this point, I'm starting to think that was a fluke, on his part. But
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know what to make of that now because it was his first year, and the Giants were competitive. They made the playoffs, and you were thinking to yourself, and I'm pretty sure most people were thinking, okay, the Giants are improving. They're going somewhere.
yeah,
And then by his second year, that was gone, and it never really came back. And with the way that Daniel Jones was playing this year in Indy, before we were thinking, okay, Brian Daboll made something out of Daniel Jones. But maybe Daniel Jones was that guy all along, kind of like Sam Darnold, and we just didn't know it because the Giants were holding him down. So
yeah.
who really knows?
Like speaking of Daniel Jones, of all people to be one of the best quarterbacks this year, and it sucks he went down later in the season. But let's give him some props because everybody, and I guarantee every Colts fan was thinking, oh God, we got Daniel Jones. We got Daniel Jones, a guy who picks off everybody. Oh
Yeah,
God.
I know Will wasn't mad that he was in the
Oh
division
yeah.
until the season started.
Yeah, like when that news broke out, Will was laughing so hard. I remember that. He was. It was like, oh yeah, the Colts are super screwed now. They're going to be like the Titans, finishing worse in the division. But
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a shame that we got robbed of seeing Daniel Jones in the playoffs because they
I
would
know.
have made the playoffs. And they would have
Absolutely.
been a scary team to face.
Yeah, like once he went down, the Colts just were not the same after that. And it's a shame because the Colts were among the best teams in their division, and they crash and burn as soon as Daniel Jones went out. And that tells you a lot about Daniel Jones. Really makes me wonder if the Giants just simply misused him for all those years he was with the Giants. Like, who knows at this point? But it really does
Yeah, I
ponder
mean,
that thought.
yeah, I mean, we saw it just a couple years ago with Sam Darnold, and the Jets were clearly holding him down, and then the Panthers after that, they just didn't know how to use him, and those were bad teams in general anyway. But then Sam Darnold goes to a good team, and now he's one of the quarterbacks that people actually
Right.
trust and know is talented. And it looks to be that way with Daniel Jones. And now I'm just thinking, who's next? Who's a quarterback that we've written off that's going to come back and be one of the great quarterbacks in the league?
You know what this tells me, Paulo? You know what this tells me? This tells me when those certain quarterbacks that you mentioned, Sam Darnold, let's throw in Geno Smith, despite that bad year he just had, um, and Daniel Jones, it really tells me that the teams that initially drafted them just simply did not know how to develop their quarterbacks whatsoever. Like it's night and day. Like if you put Sam Darnold with the Seahawks as they are right now, I mean we have the answers right there. I mean look at them right now.
Yeah.
You saw Sam Darnold last year with the Minnesota Vikings. He turned that team around, and now look at the Vikings right now. They're absolutely garbage. And yeah, sure they got J.J. McCarthy, but I'm not sold on him just yet. um,
Yeah.
Oh man, like and then Geno Smith, like he was drafted by the Jets. He sucked with the Jets, and then he goes to Seattle, does really well up until this past year with the Raiders. But they're the Raiders. In fact, that's another team that you don't want to be drafted by if you're a quarterback. Oh man,
Yeah, I mean, who's next? Honestly, like if Kyler gets traded or leaves, like is he gonna become an elite level QB?
who knows?
Or
Oh, here's
I
another one.
mean,
What's that dude's name? Mac Jones. Mac Jones, who did solid as a backup for the Niners, looks like a star quarterback for the Niners when Brock Purdy went down a few times this year. Like, that's another good example. It's like it really makes you wonder how bad those teams that initially drafted them. They're just bad at developing quarterbacks.
yeah,
Period.
Mac Jones might be the next guy who gets given another shot to be a starter on another team, and then
For
just
real.
goes up from there. I guess we'll
Absolutely.
see.
Yeah, we'll see about next season and see what happens. 'Cause, I mean, the NFL offseason, usually people are like, ugh, That's another boring offseason. Here we go. It's pretty exciting initially. Like, you never know who's going where, who gets drafted by who. You just never know. Like, there's still excitement in the offseason. Is it as exciting during the regular season? No, obviously not. But there's some excitement here and there. So,
Yeah.
so, but anyway, moving on to the offensive and defensive coordinators that got let go. The Lions fired their offensive coordinator after one season, and that to me made the most sense because the Lions' offense was just not the same this year compared to last year when they had Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Lions fan, if you're a Lions executive, if you're anyone in that organization, you're comparing this year to last year. Um, you've been nearly there is in terms of a Super Bowl for the last few years, and then so to miss the playoffs entirely, I can completely understand letting go of a coordinator. Um, you've got all your offensive weapons from last year, and then you just weren't as effective on offense. So, I mean that has to fall on the OC.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Because like it's night and day when you're comparing both offenses of the Lions from this year and last year, or should I say 2024 and 2025? Because we're in 2026 now, but you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
but it's a huge difference maker, and I don't know who the Lions are thinking of bringing in next, but hopefully it's somebody good because their coach today. I just saw it earlier. Yeah, here we go. Dan Campbell grades himself as a freaking F for the Lions 2025 season. I mean,
I mean,
he's not wrong.
yeah, that's that mentality. If you're not first, you're last. You miss the
Yep.
playoffs, and so, you know, when that's the standard, when a Super Bowl is the standard for what your goal is, missing the playoffs, yeah, that is an F.
Yeah.
And that's also just the accountability of like, the buck stops with him. He's going to take responsibility for the shortcomings that happened this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when the year before they were the number one seed in the NFC and they got embarrassed by the Washington Commanders, who, speaking of those guys, they went downhill this year for whatever reason. Why? Like, holy moly. Talk about a massive 360, or 180, excuse me, for the Commanders. Because, like, in the beginning of the year, you, I, Jose, and Will, we were all talking about preseason rankings and everything. We thought the Commanders were for certain going to make the playoffs, and well, here we are. The Commanders missed the playoffs again.
Yeah, well,
So,
you this year you had Jaden Daniels injuries.
yeah,
There's still definitely pieces on that team that need to be addressed. You could still improve the O line. You could still improve the defense. Like there's still work you can do on that team. Um, but even week two, I believe it was week two when they were fully healthy and they played the Packers. I know you remember that game
oh
because you
yeah,
had the tight end from the Packers in
I
fantasy.
did. Yes.
And that was just like we saw them play, a top level at the time, a top level defense, and they just couldn't move on that defense.
Yeah, the Commanders were simply grounded that day, and I think that was the day that Packers tight end just simply went off on them and helped me win that fantasy matchup. Ironically, it was one of the few
That was
games,
the day.
one of the few games I won this year. Sadly, I was the loser this year in our fantasy league. Better luck next time, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, so speaking of the Commanders, they parted ways with their offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and their defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. after obviously a disappointing 2025 year. Not surprising, honestly. Like, I mean, you go from like going near one game away from the Super Bowl to crashing and burning so hard. It's understandable why they both got let go.
Yeah, and just think a year ago we were talking about Cliff Kingsbury as a potential Saints head coach
Oh,
candidate.
whew, talk about
Yeah.
yeah. Thank God we didn't
I
get
mean, I wouldn't,
him.
and at the time, I wouldn't have even been mad about it. I would
Me
have
too.
kind of been like, okay, kind of, hopeful and optimistic. But it seems as though we did make the right choice.
Yeah, because like Kellen Moore, while he had some rough edges early on, seemed to really start to figure out as a head coach for the New Orleans Saints, and the way he has called the offense in the end stretch, it really makes me excited for the Saints in the long run. So, but of course, as we already mentioned earlier on our episode, we gotta address the holes and needs on that team. So, and Kellen Moore continues to just continue to develop himself and to develop the team and bring the culture as it is right now. So, that's all I can say about that. Anyway, the Cowboys also fired their defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. Talk about having a name like that. Goodness gracious.
I'm not surprised at all by that because I remember when Eberflus was the head coach for the Bears, and every year the Bears were just
Trash.
chalking it up.
Like,
Yeah.
like for 2 years in a row, I believe. Like, on the Idiots in the iPhone podcast that we used to run, we we kept saying the Bears were going to be that sleeper team year in year out, and they kept making us
Yeah.
look stupid every year. They
Well,
did.
they had the roster for it. Was the problem is they had the roster to be able to do something. Coaching wasn't there, and then there was just this disconnect
Yeah.
with Justin Fields in the offense, and then with who else was there?
Caleb
Who else
Williams.
was there? I think, yeah.
No,
Well,
no, maybe not. No.
yeah, because it was his rookie year last year. Yeah, maybe that's what we were talking
A little,
about.
because the reason why I mentioned him is because he made a comment before he was drafted that he did not want to be drafted by the Chicago Bears, and I kind of understood that given how the Bears were under Matt Eberflus. So I totally get that. But now that they got Ben Johnson, they're on a whole different level right now. In fact, they're one. I think the number 3 seed or something like that in the NFC. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
a massive turnaround for the Bears for certain. So I'm sure Caleb Williams is taking those words back for certain.
Yeah, well, like at the time, I could have understood it because for years the Bears just were nothing. They were just mediocre at best for so many years. And
Yeah.
now, yeah, it looks like they're on the up and up. The Bears are relevant for the first time since we played them in the playoffs. In what? Drew Brees'
Yeah,
last year or second last year?
very
They
last
haven't been
year. Yeah.
relevant since then.
I know. So I have a friend up in Chicago, and he will randomly Snapchat me all the time. By the way, shout out to Steve. That's his name. And Steve would always tell me year in year out how he wants to like destroy his house because he's so sick of the Chicago Bears losing here every year. And then this year, I asked him before the season started. He said, I asked him, what do you think about the Bears this year? Do you have any hope? He's like, no, dude, I'm numb of pain. I feel hopeless. I'm like, well, dang, dude. Fast forward to now, I asked him the same question. How you feel now? He said, dude, we're back, baby. Bears are back, baby. The Bears. And I'm gonna do this stupid chant and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how this happened this year because I expected the Bears to be on the right track with Ben Johnson if he worked out as a head coach, but to have it turn around in their first year is just kind of insane. It reminds me of what happened to the Commanders last year. And there's always every year there's just one of those teams that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering now if it's going to be like the Commanders as well for them next year, where they take a step back, or if they're going to continue to stay at the top of their division and try to like fight for the playoffs for the next few years, foreseeable future.
Yeah, who knows, man? It's going to be interesting for the Commanders from here on out, and also for Chicago. Like for Chicago, like just to get rid of Matt Eberflus, and then shortly hiring Ben Johnson, it really shows that they had the team, but they just did not have the coach. And kind of like the Saints, like we have the team somewhat, but we didn't have the coach.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's no more evident than when you get a new head coach and your team on paper is pretty much the same, but you just get more out of those players. That's how you know it was a coaching issue.
yeah, for certain. Anyway, so I think were there any other firings that I kind of overlooked that you could?
We forgot about today's John Harbaugh.
Oh, that's right, John Harbaugh. Man, that dude's been there since I was in early college. Like, man, I for every NFL season I have watched, he's always been the Ravens head coach. So this came as a surprise that they finally cut him loose. And I kind of understand because this year was an absolute disaster for the Ravens. Like the Ravens were supposed to be like one of those top dogs in the AFC like they were last year, but not this year. No, no, no. Complete opposite. Like Lamar, of course, Lamar Jackson couldn't stay healthy. That was a big problem. But overall, the team just looked so dysfunctional.
Yeah, and part of me wants to say that I understand it because of that, and with these, the standard for them is also, Super Bowl is what they're thinking. And if you miss the playoffs, then it's a failed season by
Mm-hmm.
far.
Absolutely.
But I can't agree with this firing because he's been so good throughout the years as a head coach. And then you're dealing with injuries this year to your star quarterback as well. Um, and the problem that the Ravens now face is that they aren't going to be able to find a coach in the offseason that is as good as Harbaugh.
Yeah.
So you fired him for having a bad year, um, but you're not going to find someone as good or better to replace him with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's gonna be very interesting to see what the Ravens do from here on out, finding a head coach. Because while I haven't done any research on who would be available as a head coach hiring, good luck to the Ravens because you have Lamar Jackson on that team, and you're about to inherit a team that had a head coach that has been their head coach for almost 20 years, I believe. Like he's been there for a very long time, and that's gonna be hard to replace. It's similar, but not completely similar to how Bill Belichick left the Patriots. Different scenario, I know, but it's somewhat similar. There's some elements in there that are similar to that, but yeah, good luck to the Ravens. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think Harbaugh and Stefanski. I would not be surprised if both of those guys have head coach gigs on different teams
Yeah,
next year. I think it's unlikely. I don't know because they both could easily be head coaches on other teams. I think they'll get interviews like Stefanski's getting with the Giants already. Um, I don't know if I would say both of them would be, but they're going to be highly sought after. You'd think.
yeah, for certain. Like if I had a guess, and I already mentioned earlier, I think Stefanski with the Giants would be a good fit, but he could also be a good fit for the Ravens too, possibly. And then John Harbaugh, I don't know where he would land exactly, but there's a bunch of teams available that he could land at that he could possibly turn that team around because he is a very proven head coach. He's won, I think, a pair of Super Bowls under his belt, been to the playoffs consistently for years and years. Now and then he might have a down year, but it's not consistent enough. So he's a consistent, good head coach. So he definitely will get a spot someplace. I just don't know where.
Yeah, I think if you're a team that it doesn't have a lot going on right now, and you're patient, unlike the Raiders. I think if you're a team like Tennessee and you're trying to develop your, second year first round pick QB, and you're willing to give a coach as many, 3, 4 years to get that team up to where you want it to be, I would go after a guy like Harbaugh because, like you said, he's a Super Bowl champ. He's got the experience, plenty of it. Um, I think a team like Tennessee could use a guy like him.
Yeah. Hey, it could very happen. Possibly happen. That did not make any sense. But you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I think that's about it in terms of coaches being fired and everything. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up?
I think we covered just about everything.
All
We
right.
we covered all the coaches, all the important coordinators. I believe we covered.
Yep.
So yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank y'all for tuning in, and of course, thank you for Paula for joining our podcast channel episode. It's an honor to have him here. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to the Mysterious Biscuit. He posts some elite content on there, and he's posts some pretty good movie takes and everything. Sometimes we butt heads over some movie takes, but that's what friends are for. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, till next time, we'll talk to you guys later. Who dat?
Hey Gates, you are the savior. We yelling black and gold to the Super Bowl. Black and gold.